Welcome
to Follow Focus, the podcast edition.
The podcast edition.
That's right.
Not that there's been any edition previously.
I
knew I didn't trust him.
Hopefully the microphone picks that up.
Let's just retake that.
No, come on. This is good.
No.
This is scuffed like everything else here.
That's true. Okay, so I'm Cameron Harris.
I'm Brian Monday.
And we are video producers. We are content creators. We are small business owners. This is your new space.
Our new space.
And like brand new. I mean like
literally last week we started moving into this space and we've painted, moved all of our production equipment in here. Got all kinds of desks and things in here. The toilet was redone. Very important.
Yeah.
We got a 3M sticky toilet paper holder that I just found out about.
No screws.
See how long that stays.
No
on
wall
the
anchors.
Right.
I'm very curious
on
about
like
that
a
one.
semi-gloss paint, so it's just gonna fall off here in a week or two, but maybe not.
Everything is a work in progress.
Yeah.
And that is like kind of the theme of this thing.
This first episode for sure.
Yeah. This is going to evolve a lot, especially if you are watching this. If you are watching a video version of this is going to change a lot because we've got plans for what this is going to look like. We've got vision, we've got goals. But I mean, honestly, we've been talking about doing a podcast for so long. It was like, we just need to start this.
Yeah. Once we figured out we were getting this studio or this space and then this studio was coming along with it, I was like, Cam, like we just got to get it done. So we put it on the schedule and we are totally not equipped to be doing this right now. Like equipped to the bare minimum of having the two microphones I've had in my house for the past. That's the first microphone I ever used when I thought having a microphone on a boom arm was cool for gaming.
Yeah. Everyone went through that phase.
Right. And then this one, because I was like, oh, it's $100. It's cool. And a lot of my favorite YouTubers are buying it and reviewing it. So, yeah. And then our Blackmagic 6K cameras. So it's like janky here, but then our rigs are over there. And then
you also say we're prepped for the bare minimum. You say as our mics are running into a 32 channel audio interface.
Yeah. No big deal. Right.
Yeah.
And we didn't even know it could record straight through a USB situation until like an hour ago.
Yeah. We figured it out.
We've owned that thing for a long time. And, thanks to Malachi for bringing that up for us. So that helped out a lot.
Yeah, and Malachi is your business partner for Wiser Productions, which is your entity.
Yep.
And you guys don't just do video stuff.
Yeah,
you're a true Renaissance man.
That is like not the bottom of the totem pole, but like the newest thing that we do in our company. We mainly DJ and do live sound and rentals for people and bands and photo booths and weddings. And like, that's our bread and butter.
Yeah.
But I got into the company 3 years ago now. So right off the tail end of COVID-20. And, basically I was helping the guys with live streaming stuff. So I had 2 Canon RPs and they were like, oh, you don't have an iPhone, so let's use that for streaming. And it was the coolest thing. So that's kind of how I got into the company to work for these guys. And I've always enjoyed dabbling in video and things like that. And it's evolved into me being a DJ and an assistant and a partner. And now they're being the director of videography and filmmaking for Wiser.
Which is so cool.
Pretty cool. And
it makes a lot of sense because like events and video are more and more, they're going hand in hand.
Oh yeah.
So my thing is strictly video. I don't dabble in DJing or,
just give it time.
Live events. We'll see. I've seen like all the extra stuff you have to lug around.
How it goes, right? Yeah.
He
can fit all his stuff in his Tesla. So
yes.
Yeah. I had to get a bigger car to fit my stuff in.
I'm gonna need a bigger car at some point. That's
eventually.
The problem with liking shiny new toys is that you keep getting new ones and then you keep having to find places to
and they get
stash
bigger
them.
and you get more of them and yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it evolves. But so like even though I just do video stuff, I don't do event things. I do event coverage a lot.
Yeah.
So like you've been kind enough to bring me on for some of your wedding stuff, which has been super cool. And, other corporate events and birthday parties and bat mitzvahs and all kinds of stuff. Like that's something that it's not all I do, but like there's a lot of demand for event video.
Oh yeah.
Like I remember when I was a kid, and it's probably the same for you.
Long time ago.
For you. But please. My age starts with a 3. You don't need to rub it in.
Mine doesn't.
So. Not yet. Not just yet. Wait. Just wait, Brian. It's coming for you.
I still got 4 to go.
Ish. But like when I was a kid, it was like you had the big like chunky VHS camera.
Oh yeah.
And you were recording childhood videos. And I
just remember seeing those in museums, honestly.
Right. But like I think about this a lot sometimes because like I'm eventually gonna have kids, and the quality of what my kids' home videos are gonna look like compared to what mine did, is gonna be insane. And not just because like I'm a video guy, like because I'm a video guy.
It's just the technology that everybody has a cell phone. An iPhone 8 camera looks better than the VHS film that you and I watched. Watch back our parents' wedding video or like family films or things. Our kids are probably going to be like, wow, our grandparents' wedding film, even though it was shot in 6K, like. Looks like nothing compared to our 30K sensors that they have now.
Dad, why isn't this in 3D?
Right. Why can't I feel the image?
Yeah.
Yeah. And pull some Disney magic and start to smell the environment and things.
Dude. Well, do you remember like those movies that were like, it's in 5D, and the fifth dimension is smell, and they were like the scratch and sniff cards.
Yep.
That was so weird. Even as a kid, I was like, this is a stretch.
Yeah.
It's fun. So it's funny bringing up like, movies because. So I want to talk a little bit about how both of us got into this originally. My thing. So I got into video really, really early. Like I was lucky enough to like stumble upon video when I was like a teenager, and then it just stuck, and I was like, this is what I'm gonna do. Like I fully committed to it. And the way that I got into it was. I was messing around with like the family camcorder, not from so what I was actually doing was I was doing stop motion with Legos.
Oh, nice.
Is what I was really doing. Yep. And I, for this one shot, I was like, I should just record this with, I needed someone like flying through the air or something. So I was like, I'll just do this with video and just like flick them across the thing. And that'll be fine.
That's cool.
So I like took this camcorder out, and this is like an old mini DV camera. So it wasn't VHS, but it was still a tape.
Yep.
And I was recording with this thing for a couple minutes, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, tape's out. And I was like, what all is like on here? So I plugged it into my laptop with iMovie.
Yeah.
And I just like ingested all of the stuff. And it turns out my grandparents had borrowed that camera when they took this like cruise. My grandparents were big cruise people.
Oh yeah.
They took a cruise on the Baltic Sea.
Neat.
And they like took this camcorder with them and just like captured a bunch of like
just
home movie stuff of just like, pointing around at various like landmarks and things. And then they brought it back. They gave it back to my parents and then completely forgot about that.
Yeah. They didn't like take the tape out.
Yeah. And I think especially I think that was a weird era because like VHS camcorders, you could take the VHS out, put it in a VCR, and you could watch it.
And it would work, yeah.
It would work.
Yeah.
Whereas like with mini DV, if you didn't know how to like ingest the stuff, the only way to watch it was to plug the camera into a TV.
Into it through the yellow, red, and white jack and stuff.
Which ended in like a headphone jack.
Right.
I still don't understand how that even works. So they just like forgot about it like most people do. I saw all this footage, pulled it into iMovie. Like iMovie 06 or something like that. And was like, oh, this is all like here. This is kind of cool. let me like mess around with it, try and make something funny out of it. So I made this like mockumentary, like turned it into kind of like an Indiana Jones adventure thing. And then like showed it to my family and was like, this is a silly thing I made. Like,
Did they like drop on their knees and bow down to you at that point? Or were they like... Interesting camera.
They were like, "Oh, that's fun." Like, that's super funny. My grandfather actually, who shot most of this stuff. This man gave me notes. Which, looking back on it, I'm like, oh my God, he was prepping me for client work.
Yeah,
he was preparing me for like a career in the creative industry.
You had a yellow notepad and there's just sitting there watching the.
Literally.
That's awesome.
You are joking. That is literally what he did. He
gnarly.
sat down with me, watched it over the whole time, and was like giving me notes live.
My
It was hilarious. So he was a very he was a vice president of AT&T. He was very old school corporate guy.
Yep.
And honestly, I am very grateful for a lot of the lessons he gave me.
Absolutely, yeah.
As a kid, I was like, this is weird. But now looking back, I'm like,
thanks,
oh, you
Grandpa.
were, yeah, it's like you were trying to you were prepping me, whether intentional or not.
Right. It could have just been his personality.
Oh, 100% his personality. But I think he would be pretty amazed at how much how much the media business has become an actual business.
A business, yeah.
Where it's it's not just oh, there's the top 0.01% of the people in Hollywood and everyone else doesn't make a living doing this.
It's actually pretty from my YouTube university studies.
Yes.
People make some money doing this stuff. Just indie filmmakers. They do pretty well, and I had the same idea when I first started doing things was I've got to film I've got to be a part of the Marvel universe and be filming these things, and that's how I would do it, to make money. But there's a lot of different avenues.
I have never thought of myself as a quote unquote filmmaker.
Yeah.
I think that is a very different thing. And even when I went to college for this, I had looked around and I was in my head, I was like, oh, I want to do video stuff. My parents were, nice enough to actually encourage me to go into a creative field. Yep. And I had been doing this kind of self-taught YouTube university style.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah. I mean, I
got 8 diplomas there.
Oh yeah. If they gave me diplomas,
easily,
I'd be stacked with them. But I was looking at these places because I was just film school is what I need to do.
Right.
That was the only thing I really knew how to equate it to. So I looked at NYU, UCLA, the big known film schools.
Yeah.
And I was looking around, and the biggest thing at the time, this has changed, but at the time, everything you looked at was you will be learning to cut 8mm film. Physical, we will give you a razor blade and you will be cutting physical. And then every year you graduated up from 8 to 16mm and then to 36mm, whatever the numbers are. And I was looking at that and I was like, cool. I'm never going to get a job doing this. The writing was already on the wall.
Yeah.
Digital cinema was still very much in its infancy, but it was this is clearly where things are going.
Yeah.
So my school was the only one that I could find that was teaching digital stuff. And it was a separate department. They had a film department, and then they had
the digital
multimedia communications was what it was called. That was the buzzword at the time. But that was strictly digital stuff, more one-man band. And instead of it being you're going to shoot one video project a semester, it was no, you're shooting one video project a week per class.
Yeah.
It's you got 3 deliverables due a week.
Ooh, that's a scary thing.
It was scary, but it was super helpful.
Absolutely.
for setting the cadence.
Mm-hmm.
So for you, I've yammered on long enough.
God, you talk a lot, man.
I do.
I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this.
You get caffeinate, man.
Right. Yeah.
So what was your intro to doing video?
Yeah. So as a kid, I was kind of similar to you where I'd pick up the family camera and go shoot on it and do this and that. And I remember, do you remember the flip cameras? The big rectangular flip, and they had one button on the back and a couple arrows.
And the USB thing that was a switchblade? Dude, that was literally the camera they assigned us in college.
Really?
That was and it was oh, we're giving you a flip camera.
Yeah.
It was part of your course materials.
Yep.
It was hilarious.
So we would, that was the first thing I remember ever just being I want that. I was asking my parents, can I get this? I think it was maybe $150 or something like that. They were super cheap, but that was my first step into doing my own type of content creation. And I was literally filming a video last night, kind of just going through my history in film and video and where it's evolved to. And I posted my first video on YouTube with one of my friends 13 years ago.
Wow.
So for the past 13 years, I've kind of like, it's evolved, obviously.
Sure.
Film has, and content creation has evolved. My life has evolved, and it's kind of coming full circle at this point, because now this is like really what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what gets me excited and gets me up in the morning. I'm like, I need to create something or do, you know, those creative juices. So I look back at that video I filmed 13 years ago. It was me in my bedroom, and I had one of those red bunk beds, and I was like wearing these cool sunglasses and like just you know, dorky 13-year-old type of things,
Yeah.
right? And I look back at that, I'm like, that's where I started. I picked up a camera and was just filming myself like, I'm awesome, like I'm so cool. Like it's gonna be in the video that I post, but like that type of stuff. I took videos of my dog. I took videos of me playing football and basketball outside, just set the camera up and just filmed me doing things. And I was in Windows Movie Maker doing like stop motion introductions and things like that, just taking frames from the video that I did to like some Linkin Park song or something. And that was the intro to the stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And it evolved to when I was working in the help desk world for IT, because that's another one of my background things is IT and security and stuff like that. I was working in this level 1 help desk job, which means, if you don't know, it's the first line of defense if you have a problem. They are the people that you get annoyed with, that you've told the problem to 17 times, and they're still like, okay, just turn it off again and turn it back on again. That was me, right? I would find myself watching YouTube on YouTube University, you know, about wedding filmmaking. 6 out of the 8.5 hours I was in that office a day, like just watching wedding films,
and specifically wedding stuff.
So
you were, because that was before you were working in like weddings and events.
Yep. I didn't even like, I could probably find it in my search history. It might take me a little bit, but I could probably find the first like wedding film video I ever watched. And I was just like, I didn't think wedding video, because, you know, we come from, without a knowledge of having wedding film industry, you just think of your parents in a church with a guy with a little hand camcorder,
right? And
it looks, you know, it's this big and it's so zoomed in, and there, you can see every pixel because there's only 10 of them, and like, you know, like
yep, like
that's the type of wedding film you think of. And then I saw this one, it just popped up on my recommended one day, and I was like, that's amazing. That's like a movie. And I think they were shooting on like a G7X, like nothing fancy. It wasn't, it was a camera that cost, it was a digital camera that cost $700 or something. And I was like, that's pretty neat. So then I started watching other people doing this, and it just became a thing that I really enjoyed. And then that was probably 5 or 6 years ago. And then like, I didn't even jump into the wedding industry until like 3 years ago. And that was live streaming weddings. Just, you know, it wasn't anything fancy. It wasn't anything crazy, but that got me in the door with doing it. And now we've got a bunch of weddings booked for me being the filmmaker for these weddings. And it's all evolved from me making YouTube videos 13 years ago because I wanted the $150 flip camera, you know, and it's been a pretty cool journey. And being business owner of multiple businesses, networking is the reason we met.
Yeah.
So like one of the things that I didn't really understand being in business for myself for a year now, on the IT side, I signed up for this Chamber of Commerce thing literally a year ago. I just paid my second year's due, and I didn't go to an event until December, January, whenever that was
January.
At Adventure Park USA. I have to say that because there's a bunch of adventure parks.
That is true. It's the
Adventure
one,
Park
it's the USA. One in the USA.
Right. But I didn't go to any of their events for a year, and then one day I was just like, hey, that's cool. It's an adventure park. Maybe I'll meet somebody. And I met you there.
Yeah.
And through networking, literally 3 months ago, we've done work together. We've come up with ideas together. We've talked about different films and things that we might have in the pipeline and work. And now we're doing a podcast.
Yeah. I mean, networking, I feel like you hear that a lot.
Buzzword.
It is definitely a buzzword. But like, I don't think you fully understand how important it is until you're actually like in the trenches and like,
oh yeah,
needing. Because like, so fast forwarding through my journey a little bit, I was actually still in college when I started doing freelance video work. I'd technically done like paid work before, but like in the actual like industry, and not just like, hey, I'm a high school student with a camera.
With a camera, yeah.
When it was like, no, I'm doing like professional work. I had like 1 or 2 years left of college, and I started freelancing. I moved out here from San Francisco to the East Coast because I was working.
Why, but he did.
Well, I moved out here because of Discovery.
Oh yeah, so big Discovery guy.
Yeah, for like, I mean, I was full time with them for like 7 years. I was freelancing
awesome.
almost exclusively with them for 3. And just to be clear, because this is a question that comes up a lot when I tell people this, not Discover Card. Not the credit card. People hear Discovery, they think, like, for some reason, think
the credit card.
People literally think that all the time.
What the heck? I guess because I'm in the film world.
You're in the film world,
Discovery,
and
like
you
Discovery
know.
Channel, like
Discovery Channel. Now it's Warner Brothers Discovery.
Right, yeah.
But so I interned with them back in San Francisco. Needed to move out of San Francisco because I was making minimum wage and could not live in San Francisco.
Right, yeah.
And Discovery's mothership was out here on the East Coast. We're based out of Maryland, Frederick, Maryland.
Yep.
Discovery is like an hour, 45 minutes south.
Yep.
And so that's where I worked for a long time. I was freelancing for a few years, mostly with Discovery, other places too, but mostly it was like 3/4 of it was probably Discovery work. And then there was an opening for a full-time position for like producer editor with TLC. Yep. And so I took it. The people that I was working with were amazing. Like I had being freelance, I had even just within Discovery, I had worked for a bunch of different teams. Yeah. And also like other companies worked for other teams there. And I knew that I liked the people on the TLC side. So I stuck it out with them and was full-time with them for like 7+ years.
Wow.
So I was like full company man. That had not been my plan. Like my thinking when I was in college, I was like, I'm going to have my own production company. I want to run my own business. Both of my parents were big like entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So like I wasn't really exposed to like the idea of having a desk job when I was growing up.
Right.
Yeah. And so it was never really the intention, but like there are certain elements of having a corporate job that are really appealing. The consistency and like the stability of it. You're not constantly, wondering where your next paycheck is going to come from. Health insurance is
that's the battle that I'm working through right now.
It's tricky. I am now fortunate enough to be married to a wonderful woman who is a full-time graphic designer and has insurance that I can jump on. But like at the time did not have that. So I was like, yes, my medical expenses as a diabetic. That's another thing about me. I'm a type 1 diabetic, which means it is expensive to keep me alive.
Wow.
So health insurance was like, yes, please, taking that. But eventually the idea of having my own business like just kind of kept coming back. And it was something that, the freelance days were a little different, mostly because of like the variety of work that I was doing.
Oh yeah.
Which I missed that. But even when I was freelancing, I was doing it like as an individual. The idea was never like, I didn't have like an LLC or any kind of like entity that I was the entity. It was just me.
Just you.
And so it's been a different mental shift even from the freelance days of I am now running a business. I'm not like a freelancer. I wouldn't call myself a freelancer. It is my own business entity. Yep. Even if it is like, especially for full-time, just me. I have like, there's like a couple people that I like work with a little bit.
Yeah.
But right now it's mostly just me doing like the day-to-day stuff. So it's not like functionally all that different from being a freelancer, but the mindset is completely different.
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah, going from the corporate world myself, that's like literally the reason I started my own business was because I was in the corporate world for almost a year, and you just not for me. Just not for me at all. I couldn't do the sit at the desk, take your breaks when you're supposed to, you like answer the phone call when I call you type of like world.
Right.
And it really, like you were saying, it was nice because every 2 weeks that money would come in and you would be like, that you wouldn't have a problem in that realm, like, you know where your money's coming from, and it's going to be consistent every time, no matter what. But the mental just toll that the corporate world and the corporate people, it just crushed me. But there are people out there that they are built for that type of thing.
Oh yeah.
Never going to say it's bad. We need corporate America. It's just wasn't in my cards,
Well, and the fact that even at the time you were like, your subconscious was still going towards wedding videography even at the time.
Oh yeah.
I stuck it out for as long as I did, because it was corporate, but it was still doing the thing that I loved. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like, I wasn't running a help desk.
Right.
I was still producing content and video, with people that I liked working with.
Yep.
And I learned so much doing that. In terms of like, how do you work with clients? Because like, even though it was all like internal work, it was, your client is kind of like whoever your producer you're working with that day is. Yeah. Like that is your goal is to make them happy. That's the client. And also like, the amount of content we worked on, we would, it would be upwards of like a dozen pieces a week sometimes. More if you counted like
cranking those things out.
Oh yeah. Well, and more if you counted like the short social clips of like TikToks and all that stuff. But so the college course of like, you're making 3 videos a week was like very helpful.
Yep.
Because if I had been coming from the world of like, oh, I'm going to take the entire semester to make one video
thing, yeah,
like that's amazing if that's the kind of like work you're going into. That's what I think of as more of a filmmaking thing. It's like you were taking your time with it. You were being very detail oriented
with everything.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like it's that every frame a painting kind of mindset. I think that was Kubrick.
Yeah, that's yep.
Yeah, every frame a painting. Like that's super cool. I am not wired that way. Like I like having multiple irons in the fire.
Yeah.
And I like being able to like be efficient with things and crank content out, not suffering on the quality. But like, I was known when I was in my corporate world, I was known as the guy who you went to if you needed something done like now. It was like, we're shooting footage at 10 a.m. and we need this to be live on the site by 5 p.m. That's the guy you go to.
Yeah, that's you.
Yeah. And it was so much fun. Like I love the adrenaline of that.
Yeah.
As weird as it sounds, because I was just sitting there. Like, a lot of my work was post work. And so I'm just sitting there.
He has coined the postman.
You technically came up with that.
I did that.
Yeah.
So you are the postman, and I'm going to get you a t-shirt with that on there.
Please do.
I haven't yet, but I will.
You will.
Absolutely will.
And I will wear it on the show when that day comes.
But it's good that we have this dynamic because you are really good at the get it done now. I am really good at that I know of. Like I won't toot my own horn. You can confirm this or deny it, whatever you want to do. Man. I'm really good at the really good ideas and wanting to get it done like ASAP. Like I'm definitely like a get it done type of person, but my vision is just massive, So I think it's good to have the combo here where it's like, Cam, I want to film a podcast. We're going to do it on Monday, and it's going to happen no matter what. And here we are. We have all of our stuff, like we said at the beginning, pieced together. The set looks incredible.
Oh,
right?
Truly.
And if you're seeing and or hearing this, it worked.
It worked.
It's working. And the next episode, something new is going to be better. We'll have our lighting all situated. We'll have everything going.
Maybe the screwdriver won't be on the table.
Maybe we won't have any screwdrivers because we won't need any that day. Or the twist ties because that's what came off of our awesome IKEA lamp that I just left on the table. Right? But I think that's a good dynamic that we have, which is why like our business-minded and friendship-minded relationship has come together because we have very intellectual takes on things. We want to get things done quickly. We just have a different way of doing them quickly. Mine's like, I'll think of the full big picture idea, and you are like, I'm gonna hammer down like the details and like get those things through.
We're at kind of two far ends of the spectrum in that way. Because like I've known for a while that I have a perfectionist streak, and that can be both a good thing and that can also be a very bad thing.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's like when we were having lunch before we started this, you were talking about like you hate the idea of wanting something to be so perfect that you never start it because it's not perfect before you start.
That is how I always have been, and that is the reason why I have 7 or 8 YouTube channels with a couple videos on them, because I was like, dang, that last video I made wasn't perfect. So then I was like, I guess I'm done. And
like not even starting.
Yep.
Like, because it is very much a balance. I struggle with that, especially in the context of like starting a business.
Yeah.
I had to really put a lot of effort into the idea of like, okay, no, I'm just gonna like, I am doing this now.
Yeah.
Like, oh, but I don't have like I literally would think like I don't have like a full style guide put together for like the branding and the colors and the fonts, but like how am I going to be able to, it's like, no, you do not need that.
Yep.
Should you have that eventually? Sure, absolutely. Go for it.
That's what you know now. It's not what you were thinking.
Right. But like so it's just like, no, you have to eventually like just do it.
Yeah.
Like, I was checking to see if you were wearing something with Nike. No, it's Eddie Bauer.
Yeah,
but like, just do it is a good motto to have if you are a perfectionist.
Yeah, yeah. That's kind of where I kind of shifted my mindset. Was like, even with my IT business, it kind of just started. Like I put a logo together and colors. And then the next day I made a website and created the website and put my colors and made it look cool and whatever. Made my Facebook page, Instagram, whatever. And I was ready. I was going.
Yeah.
That's how my IT business was started was, all right, I'm done with the corporate world. I just landed a 5-figure contract while working in the corporate world.
Wow.
Managing another business that really wasn't a business, but it's working and it's happening. And I was like, okay, I'm done. Wow. And then literally like within 24 hours, I had a business name, a business, the license things and the website and all the social medias and all that kind of stuff. And I like to get things done, even if it's kind of pieced apart and I could start tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like we literally... Like another example of this room had a bunch of crap just in the middle of it when we first walked in here, but it was all the crap we needed, you know?
Yeah.
And then over an hour and a half, we moved the desk in, we got the camera set up, we put the table together. Thank you, IKEA man. Put the table together. We got the mic arms and the makeshift audio set up, but you know, all the pieces are always there. You just have to, you know, we can build off of this.
Yeah.
You know, that's how the IT business was. I've been building off of it for the past year that I've been in business, and it's working because I continue to step forward. You know, I don't just say, oh yeah, that one camera install just denied me, so I guess I'm done because it just didn't work.
Right.
You know, like, oh well, there's another one coming. You know, I got to go and keep getting it. And I was on a podcast the other day, and one thing the guy had asked me, he was like, do you feel like as a business owner, going back to the business owner kind of thing, he's like, once you know you're a small business and you have mouths to feed and like family and like you got to take care of business, because if business doesn't work tomorrow, you're sinking.
Yeah.
You're done.
It's sort of it puts you into a sort of fight or flight.
Yep.
A little bit.
And I think that is how my mindset has shifted from perfection, like everything has to be ready to go and right for me to start, to I have the pieces, I can get it done and we'll do it. Like, I think that's what shifted my mindset, is because if I have the mindset of waiting for everything to be perfect, it'll never get done. And if it never gets done, I'm living on the streets. Like, that's just
right.
And that's where I think a lot of people in business kind of, that's like one of the downfalls, is kind of like you were saying at the beginning, was like, I just do it, right? Like that's the motto that people like that have to live by, because if they don't, they fail.
Yeah.
It's like businesses, like the statistic is like the average small business only lasts 3 years or something like that.
Wow. Honestly, that's longer than I would expect.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. Yeah, because if I quit my 9-to-5 job and started a business and it didn't work in the first month, I was screwed.
Yeah.
like I wouldn't have, I lived in my parents' basement at that time, but like, if it was now and I just left my corporate job, I'd be screwed. I got bills to pay.
Yeah.
And if I don't pay them, then I don't live in the house I live in,
Right.
It doesn't work. So that was one of the like eye-opening things when he asked me that question, was like, do you feel different now that it's fight or flight or like live or die? I'm like, yeah, I feel passionate and motivated and like ready to go through these things. And that like my fiance has said, like, don't you feel anxious? I'm like, yeah, that anxiety is like my fuel and makes me passionate and excited. And it's like it's a different way of thinking of anxiety. My anxiety is like what pushes me forward instead of holds me back, because I know once I start to take action, things just roll and they just keep working and keep going. And if something messes up, I have the ability and the resources to fix it, but that's because I started. It's because I took the first step forward and the next 10 steps and the next 15.
Yeah.
But if I would have waited for everything to be perfect, I never would have took the first step.
It's funny you talking about anxiety that way, because that is something that anxiety is something that has always been like, it's one of my core like emotional building blocks. And it's something that I like have gotten a lot better at managing over the years. It's always a work in progress.
Right, yeah.
But you talking about using that as fuel, because I think sometimes what I think of my anxiety in general, but especially around the business side, as something that I need to figure out how to make it so that I don't feel that.
Right.
Because my anxiety has been like borderline debilitating in the past. So I think of it as something that is like, no, I don't want that. Like, I don't want that at all.
Yeah.
But something that I have started to kind of piece together, and you giving it words even kind of crystallizes it a little bit more. Thank you.
Yin and yang,
using it as fuel.
Yeah.
And you're like, so like I'm feeling like this anxious energy about something, putting that into something productive.
Yep.
And it's interesting to something that I've noticed when I go on shoots. I always have butterflies going into shoots.
Yeah.
Always. And it's just like, I'm an old theater kid. It's like going on stage. You always have that kind of butterflies. Even if it's
every time.
It's a show you've run like a dozen times.
Yep.
It's like you're still going to have those butterflies. But when I actually get there and I'm like, okay, I'm on the camera now. Like, we're actively doing stuff. Nerves are gone.
Yeah.
And if something happens, like, oh, the lighting changed, or this piece of equipment broke down, or should have brought this thing but I didn't, you can always, like, in the moment I don't panic, because I'm just like immediately going to that place of, okay, problem solve, here's how we fix it, here's how we get the shot.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, cool, done. I've never had something go wrong to the point where it's like, well, the shoot's ruined.
Yeah.
Like, can't do anything. It's only ever in the lead up. And which is funny, because my version of perfectionism is like, I want to be as fully prepared as possible. So like, I will oftentimes show up to shoots with twice as much gear as I end up using. because I would rather have too much than too little.
Not what you need. Yeah.
But even then, I'm like, oh, I should have gotten this, and oh, what if this one thing? Like the scenarios I will have in my head are truly ridiculous. Of like, what if these 3 separate audio recording things all fail? I don't have a 4th. That's a problem. Like, that's where my mind goes.
Yeah.
So the idea of transitioning that out, and also like knowing like I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna get there. I've got what I need. Like, I can make it work no matter what. If something unknown comes up, I can deal with it. And that is like, I know that in shoots, and I'm starting to develop that sense in business.
Yeah.
Starting to. Like, there's still like a lot of unknowns, and there's things that I don't know that I don't know. But it's getting
Ain't
there.
that the truth?
Yeah. Seriously. Like, I'm coming up on 2 years of doing this by myself, and it's or on my own, like as Harris Makers.
Yeah.
Which I don't think I actually mentioned the name. Harris Makers is the entity of my production company. And it's still, I mean, the amount that it grows every week, you're adding some new piece to it.
Yeah.
It's very exciting. And it's something that you don't get in the corporate world of like seeing that thing really develop and grow, and knowing that it is because you are the one pushing it forward. Yeah.
You keep going, and that anxiety, you're going to go through so many scenarios as a business owner and as a filmmaker, as you already know, and like, and you've had so many scenarios that it's like, okay, I'm prepared for if this scenario happens to me next time. You know? So then that literally chips away from the block of anxiety that you have beforehand, because that problem won't happen again because you're prepared for it for the next one.
Yep.
You know? So yeah, that was one of the biggest things that helped me just do business for myself, was turning that. I've never been a super like anxious person. I've always been super medium with everything. I've always been medium with everything. And if something does stress me out, I've known myself to do pretty well through it and then learn from it. And then that situation, if it ever was to come up again or arise, like I already know what direction the solution would be.
Yeah.
So you take the anxiety and your experience, and you kind of meet them together. It turns into motivation.
Yeah.
It turns into fuel, to firepower, to motivation, to literally you becoming an expert and being comfortable doing that stuff.
Right. Once we hit episode 50, we're going to look back at this and it's going to be unrecognizable.
But we're pre-framing and preparing ourselves to know that this is trash. This is terrible.
Welcome to episode 1 of Follow Focus. This is terrible.
Yeah.
And we know it.
Yeah. And you're welcome. And thank you for joining us on this journey, because episode 50 that comes out will be incredible, because it'll be terrible for that time compared to episode 100. And that's, you just have to go into the situation knowing that it's going to be trash. So your expectations aren't perfect. It's like, it recorded, it's on my computer, it's saved, I can edit it, and I can upload it to whatever platform, those small wins, even though, the lighting isn't incredible. We're using fluorescent lighting from an office space that has never had an upgrade to lighting and isn't made for studio. Like, we sat down, we have chairs, we have a table, we have microphones, we have cameras.
Yeah.
Like, the bare minimum. And it's going to be posted somewhere.
Yeah. And it works.
And it worked.
I think this is, don't quote me on this, but I think this is a line from the Kingsman movie.
I'm ready.
And it's Colin.
I'm going to Google it after this.
Yes. And it's they're talking about like what makes like a gentleman a gentleman. Have you seen the Kingsman?
I haven't.
They're ridiculous and hilarious.
Okay. What is this on?
I don't know.
All right.
I don't know what streaming service it's on.
You need your iPad so you can.
I guess it's like that is. We should talk about streaming services at some point and how they've become so fractured and they become worse than cable was.
And there's 700 of them, and each of them costs $25, and you can't watch certain shows if you don't have that one. And if you don't pay the extra $10 a month, you have to watch ads through it. And it's a whole thing.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
We'll have a whole episode on that one.
If you want just a laugh, find The Kingsman and
pay for the streaming service and
find it wherever you can. But they're talking about like because the idea is they're these secret agents that are all very gentlemanly and posh and all this stuff. And the new recruit, like, it's all British, and he's got this kind of like, all right, like kind of Southern accent thing, and everyone else is very posh and things. Yeah. He's like, are you gonna teach me how to speak all fancy like in My Fair Lady? And the guy says, no, being a gentleman has nothing to do with your accent. It has nothing to do with being I'm going to paraphrase this. It's not about being superior to your fellow man. It's about being superior to the man you were yesterday.
Oh, wow.
I think that feels like it might be that he's quoting someone else.
Right. That's another quote. That's a quote from a quote. Yeah.
But like, I think that is always the goal.
Yep.
Is just be superior to who you were yesterday.
Nice.
Episode 2 will be better than episode 1.
Yep, hopefully.
Right. The next video you make is going to be better than the one previous, and it will always be such.
Yeah.
And when it stops, when you stop developing that way, then I think you need to take a look in the mirror.
Yeah.
Because that is, I mean, without that, it's like, where's the fun?
Yeah, seriously. Then you're back in corporate America doing the same thing every day. So,
sure. Yeah.
In your own corporate America, in your own small business.
Oh God. Yeah.
Imagine
do not
being
make your
stuck in that purgatory.
Do not make your own corporate America. You do not need that.
No.
The benefit of being on your own is that you are not that.
To not be that. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, this has been awesome.
Wow. Episode 1.
Episode 1. We dove into way more philosophy than I thought we were going to.
That was great.
But that was lovely.
Yeah. And I mean, if you guys didn't really understand the premise from our little trailer and stuff like that, this is what these are going to be like. It's just going to be, free flowing, like talk about things that are going on in the world and the community of creatives and that kind of stuff. And maybe bringing cool people on down the road. It's episode 1. We've thrown this thing together like Frankenstein and we have a good idea and path and goal for it. It's just going to be super casual unless one day we're corporate America follow focus podcast, but I don't think that's going to happen.
When you see the little TM,
right. The TM next to the logo that we come up with.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. That may happen sooner rather than later.
Oh, true. Yeah.
But we will see. And for everyone watching, listening, thank you for joining us on this, and let us know your thoughts. Let us know what you would like to see and hear out of this. The comment sections on iTunes and Spotify are open to you. Mm-hmm. So by all means, let us know what you'd like to see. If you've got any ideas, topics, guests, anything.
If you want to come in and build the studio, you can do that too.
You can provide the labor.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You can provide the labor. We have too much fun planning it.
Yeah. Yeah. If you guys could hang these lights for me, and then program the Wolf Mix over there, DMX, and, mount the TV and do all that stuff, that would be super helpful.
Yeah.
It'll probably be done before you see this, so it's fine. And I'll do all the work.
In which case, you were too slow.
Yeah. You should have known. You should have had that foresight 2020.
Really should have.
Yep.
But thank you guys so much. I think it is fair to say this is a co-production of Wiser Productions and Harris Makers.
Yep.
And it's going to continue to evolve, and we are excited to see what it turns into with all of you.
Yeah. Thanks for being here.
That's a wrap. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Peace.